Shalom, shalom. Call halal Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And salutation to the brethren on the four corners of the earth, pushing the word in truth and in sincerity. It's your brother Ira, coming with another lesson. I haven't figured out a title for this video, so I'm just going to, name it afterwards. But basically, I got a collection of articles I wanted to go through, pursuant to America and the rest of the world. I have a survey here from Bloomberg.com. It's a survey that was put up by the UN. It's the UN United Nations world's happiest, most miserable countries, and it's pretty straight to the point. I'll just flow down here just so you brothers can look at the chart. So this is what they call a happiness scoreboard, and you got the gap between the top and the bottom countries, and it's pretty wide. Finland would be the most happiest so-called country in the world, by their surveys, which, we all know all their surveys are circumstantial, but this is just showing you where the rest of the world is compared to America. Now, if you see, America's not even in the top 5. You have Finland, Denmark, Norway, Iceland, Netherlands. And these are all of the up northernmost countries in the world, that are up there by the Arctic Circle. all these so-called neutral countries, But it's gonna skip, and when you skip all the way down, number 19, you have United States, So United States isn't even in the top 10 happiest countries in the countries with the happiest people, man. And that says a lot, coming from the so-called greatest country in the whole planet, man. This place is falling, and we're watching, everyone that's alive on this planet right now is watching this country fall, man. And it's falling by the wayside, exponentially. Now, I don't even know how America got the 19th, but they manipulate these charts and these surveys, and they average them out. So America probably might not even be the 19th. It might be the 33rd. We really don't know. But the point is that we know damn well that America's not number 1. When it's supposed to be the country that that has a yellow brick road and laced out with gold, man. And the greatest country in the world, the land of opportunity. But what's going on, America? It seems like you're losing your grip on the reality, of the dream you want to present to your own people. That's because America's economy is failing. There are no jobs. There's, people are broke. There's no money. Divorce rates are at an all-time high. There are mass deaths. There are diseases, and drugs killing everybody. Gang violence. America has become a death culture, and because of that, America's people are no longer happy here. As the scriptures have said, man. This is Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7. It says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. And for the last 200 some odd years, as America has been, been forming and has been maturing as a country, this place has been a golden cup. This place has been the cradle of modern Western civilization, that has made all the earth drunken. The nations were drunken of her wine, and the nations took part of the Western philosophy, man, of America. A prime example would be the Arab Spring. America had the capacity and the resources to go over into the Middle Eastern countries and ransack them for their resources and turn them out, man. And now you have something called the Arab Spring. And now you have democracy come into those Arab countries, man. That used to have an Eastern way of life. But now democracy has come and their women want to wear pants, their women want to drive and things like that. Their women want to be whores and do porn and things like that, man. It says, therefore the nations are mad. It says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. And this is the point, man. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. And you're seeing Babylon be destroyed right before your eyes, man. It says howl for her, take balm for her pain. And her pain is her economic woes, man. Because Babylon is no longer the golden cup in the Lord's hand. Babylon is now that dingy, fingerprinted, um, dog eating brass cup now, man. That nobody wants to drink out of. That there's mud and sediment at the bottom of, man. It says, if so, it says take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed. And there's no heal in America. There's no heal in that wound, you know, which has been formed from its economic woes, man. From the 2008 crash all the way to now, there has been no helping America's economy. The QE 1, 2, 3, QE Unlimited. You know, now there's a debt. The debt clock is up to what? Up to what? 27 trillion, I think now. Might be exaggerating. Don't quote me on that. But you have the so-called government running out of funding and the government shutting down every 6 to 8 months. You know, since Obama has been in office. You know, so there's no healing for this place. And I'm gonna show you why in a second, man. We're gonna get more in depth with the unhappiness of the people of America, man. It says, "We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go every one into his own country." And you have a country full of immigrants where now these immigrants are migrating back to their homelands. Because they can't find any economic prosperity here. You know, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. You know, and this place is going to be judged, and you're seeing the judgment of America unfold, man, as it says in Second Ezra, the ninth chapter, man. As all thing has a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. You know, and there's no coincidence that people are dying on a massive scale in America, man. You have mass shootings, you have people getting killed off by diseases, and you have drugs, man. Because America is the home of big pharma, and we all know that. And America also has the CIA drug operations that's bringing poppies and opium over from China and Afghanistan, and bringing cocaine over from Brazil, man. In Colombia. So we understand these things, right? Now this is an article that I got from Vice.com this morning, and I read this and I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing, man, because this is a dream come true to see the downfall of your enemy. This is sweet, you know. I was about to quote Tupac. Revenge is the sweetest joy, Now, this is from Vice.com. It says, America's overdose crisis keeps getting worse. Fentanyl isn't the only drug to blame. Now, if you brothers know anything about fentanyl is the drug that they cut the cocaine and the heroin with, and not only that, fentanyl has a plethora of other drugs and chemicals mixed in as well. So it's not just fentanyl. Fentanyl is a conglomerate, might be a conglomerate of cocaine, heroin, any type of those chemicals that they use to put in the so-called cough syrup that these guys use on a daily basis. Now it says deaths caused by the synthetic opioid doubled every year from 2013 to 2016. A new study found. It says, you've probably heard by now that fentanyl is the deadliest drug in the United States, but a new study released Thursday by the National Center for Health Statistics offers yet another grim reminder. Deaths caused by the powerful synthetic opioid doubled every year from 2013 and 2016, soaring to 18,300 fatal overdoses from under 2,000 in a single year. So that's more than double. So in a 3-year span, that's quadrupled. From 2,000 to 18,000. That's septupled. That has septupled. It says, and it keeps getting worse. Preliminary data for 2017 show more than 28,000 deaths involving fentanyl and other synthetic opioids. That's out of more than 70,000 total fatal drug overdoses, which is higher than the death toll for HIV at the peak of the epidemic. President Trump, along with others, has started to pay attention. The White House is touting for the administration's ongoing efforts to reduce the flow of illicit fentanyl from China and Mexico. But the thing is, you can't reduce the illicit flow because it's damage has already been done. You know, they've been bringing fentanyl over from China and Mexico for years. It says, but the latest report on fentanyl includes a statistic that suggests the problem is actually worse and more complicated than Americans have been led to believe. And that's because these numbers aren't actually true. These numbers are manipulated to show the least, and doesn't account certain factors, as you brothers are going to see. So you have overdose deaths involving fentanyl. You have, a couple thousand in 2011, going to 2017 to almost 30K. That's 28K from what the article just stated. And you have to take in consideration 2018 data hasn't even been factored in yet. So this could almost double or triple or quadruple in that time. Going back to the article, it says, while synthetic opioids kill more Americans than any other type drug, in 2016, nearly 70% of fentanyl deaths also involved one or more other substances. Deaths caused by other drugs have not skyrocketed to the same degree as fentanyl, but overdose rates for both heroin and meth more than tripled from 2011 to 2016. Cocaine use is also on the rise, and it has consistently remained the second or third leading cause of fatal overdoses after opioids. Now the thing is what they're going to find is that meth, cocaine, heroin, all these drugs are being used in conjunction with the fentanyl. So people are overdosing on more than just fentanyl. They're overdosing on poly drug use, meaning more than one. So you have people using cocaine with fentanyl, or cocaine with heroin, or cocaine with meth, or fentanyl with meth, or fentanyl with cocaine, or cocaine with meth, or cocaine with fentanyl. It might be spiking their blunts and smoking weed dipped in fentanyl. So you have all these different drugs that are out there that are killing these people. And the reason why all these people are overdosing on all these drugs, or even turning to drugs, is because of this. Because they are not happy here in America, man. The Lord is putting a spirit on America to where everything is on the decline, man. And these people cannot handle it. So what? They turn to drugs, man. They turn to alcohol abuse and drug abuse and whatever they can get their hands on to help them ease the pain and escape the reality. The reality that America is losing its grip on its society. That is the reason why you get these statistics, man. Let me scroll down here. It says, the National Center for Health Statistics report relies on information from death certificates, which don't always specify the type of drug that caused the overdose. Previous research, including a 2017 study from the University of Virginia, has estimated that opioid mortality rates might actually be 24% higher than stated in official reports due to incomplete reporting on death certificates. Because what happens is these people die of a drug overdose, and instead of properly investigating or properly having an autopsy done to seeing what the cause of death was, they just mark it down as a fentanyl overdose. When sometimes it's cocaine, sometimes it's heroin, sometimes it's meth. Sometimes it's THC induction. It says Marianne Rose Spencer, a statistician with the National Center for Health Statistics, told Vice News that the overdose totals in her recent fentanyl report should be considered the minimum number based on the available data. The problem, she explained, is that every state has its own way of testing for the drug. It says, I just want to read this little sidebar here. It says, the Americans are now more likely to die from an opioid overdose than a car accident. Interesting. That means people are willingly killing themselves, man. People rather die than be in this reality. It says, it's improving over time, Spencer said. It's getting more specific. They're not just writing polydrug overdose, they're actually writing what the drugs are. It says, while the national focus remained on fentanyl, some experts have characterized the current opioid crisis as a triple wave epidemic that began with the rise of prescription painkillers in the early 2000s. So now they're finally coming out, and they're not coming out and saying specifically or being blunt about it, but they're saying that, look, prescription painkillers is the cause of this shit. You know, prescription painkillers is the cause of all of these drugs coming to fruition. Because before these prescription painkillers, you didn't have these these high level amounts of people overdosing on drugs, man. You know, they get that's why this is called that's why America's called the Prozac Nation, man. It says when authorities crack down on pill mills, users switch to heroin. And to meet the growing demand for heroin, illicit drug traffickers turn to fentanyl, which is more potent and cheaper to manufacture. Fentanyl is also mixed with powdered heroin, and the law enforcement has warned users about fentanyl laced cocaine, which may contribute to both the death toll and the increased rate of deaths involving more than one drug. You know, so you have all these deaths that are occurring from drug overdoses that aren't just fentanyl, aren't just opioids, man. You got, like I said, you got cocaine, meth, heroin, you got THC intake, you know, and you got people that still taking LSD and doing acid taps, you know. So really, this number here, 28,000, 2017, and let's just throw 2018 in there, right? Let's say 2018, it doubles to 40 grand. You know, when you still look at that number, you still have 24%. Like she said, 24% of cases aren't even classified correctly. You know, so you have 30,000 and add another 24% on top of that. You know, that's almost an extra 11, 12,000 cases. You know, that might be exaggerating. About 8 or 9,000. Slack it. That's almost another 8 or 9,000 cases, man. So really, this number could be around the 50,000 death range. You know, and that's because America's losing its grip on reality, man. America is not the greatest country in the world, you know, and that's because the leadership is trash. The leadership is horrible. You know, the leadership. You got to think about it. You know, the leadership is nothing but a bunch of witches and warlocks, man. You know, nothing but a bunch of wolves. This is Sirach 10:1. It says, "A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered." You know, and they're not instructing the people well, man. You know, just do what I will, do what you want. You know, and we have numerous examples. LGBT is one of them. You know, number two, it says, "As the judge of the people is himself." You know, and you have these judges or these men that are in power that are drug addicts themselves, man. That's why the people are drug addicts because they transfer that spirit down. You know, just like for people that are hooked on heroin and these opioids, they set up clinics and hospitals for these people so that they can be supposedly be weaned off the drug, but they're giving them legal heroin, man. They're giving out legal marijuana and legal heroin for people to smoke and to consume in these odd ways, man. Giving out syringes, you know, and kits to heat up the spoons with, man. It says, "As a judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. In what manner the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein." You know. So your president, guess what, people? Your president is a drug addict. You know. Your secretary of state is a drug addict. Your vice president is a drug addict. Your speaker of the house is a drug addict. You know. Your your director of the Department of Homeland Security, they're all drug addicts, man. The director of the CIA, they're all drug addicts. You know. It says, "An unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority the city shall be inhabited." You know, so you have an unwise king, which is your president, DJ Trump. You know, and all the kings, all the presidents that came before him, man, have been systematically demoralizing and destroying the American people, man. That's why America is at this number. You know, which ultimately is the spirit of the Lord, man. The Lord is busting this country down to its lowest state possible, man. And the men of the Lord have been out there on the highways and byways telling you that this place is going to all hell, man. This place is going to hell in a handbasket, literally. You know, and the reason being is because when you are ingesting or consuming any type of drug, you are increasing your dopamine levels in your brain, which the dopamine is a chemical, which is they call it the feel good chemical. You know, so with all the sadness and depression going around in America, people are turning to drugs so they can what? So they can feel better. You know, so they can escape from reality. This is from the universityhealthnews.com. This I'm going to read about the dopamine. It says you've heard of it, but you still may be wondering what is dopamine. Its reputation centers around its reputation as the feel good hormone. Dopamine is associated with feelings of euphoria, bliss, motivation, and concentration. Yet there's more to it than that. Like serotonin, dopamine is a type of brain chemical called a neurotransmitter. Released by neurons or brain cells, neurotransmitters control a myriad body functions and transmit signals from the brain to the body, passing across small gaps called synapses between each neuron. It says dopamine is involved in many pathways in the brain, playing an important role in a range of body systems, as well as functions, including movement, sleep, learning, mood, memory, and attention. So obviously it's a key chemical. Inadequate or imbalanced levels of dopamine can play a part in multiple conditions, including depression. And that's where I want to stop right there. So if you have an imbalanced level of dopamine in your brain, you know, you will be depressed. You know, and dopamine is a feel good chemical that has to do with motivation and mood, and memory and movement and learning. You know, so these people take these drugs so they can enhance their they can enhance their feelings, man. You know, so they won't feel depressed anymore. Because going back to this survey, America's not the greatest country in the world. You know, America hasn't been the greatest country in the world for a long time, since the '60s. You know, America has been on the decline. You know, so the dopamine that they're trying to, they're trying to achieve is to help them escape from reality, man. You know, this second Ezra chapter 15, verse 14, because now that you find out that all these people in America are drug addicts, you know, and when you're a drug addict, you're not in your right mind, you know, you start hallucinating, you're seeing things, you're feeling things that aren't there, you know, but what happens when all hell breaks loose in America and those drugs are not readily accessible? People go through withdrawals, you know, when people go through withdrawals, they go through crazy shit, you know, they go through crazy things, they'll do anything to get those drugs, man, you know. So just think about when race riots and martial law pop off, you're gonna have people that are drug addicts that are going through withdrawals, man. They're gonna be like squirrels with rabies, man. You know, insanely dangerous. You know, highly unpredictable. You know, all because they don't have that feel good in their system. You know, so now that's gonna make that's gonna make this a show for the Most High, man. You know, that's gonna make race riots and martial law go to a whole nother level, man. You know, and the Lord is going to love it. This is second Ezra chapter 15, verse 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. You know, so you're gonna have people destroying each other, man. You know, because they're gonna have the power. You know, and it's gonna be complete lawlessness and anarchy. Just imagine trying to fight someone who is who is going through withdrawals, man. They get pretty damn strong. You know, I mean, I've never had to witness any of that, but you know, just judging from the movies and television and you know, looking up on side effects of heroin withdrawals and things like that, you know, people get an increased amount of strength, you know, and they increase in anger, you know, because they're not getting that stimuli, you know, that stimulation. It says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, you know, uprisings. They shall not regard their kings or princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." Because the kings and the princes, like the police and the senators and all the authority figures, are going to be trying to help their families, man. One example I always bring up is World War Z. You know, when Brad Pitt's wife was about to get taken away, they were trying to rape her, or whatever they were trying to do to her. I'm pretty sure they were trying to rape her. And she called out to the policeman that was running to the store for help. And he ran in, grabbed some baby formula, and ran right out. And he didn't care about them. All he cared about was feeding his child, man. So your actions, of course, their actions are going to stand in their own power, man. It's going to be all out chaos, meaning no order at all. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and the men shall be afraid, man. And that's exactly what's going to happen, man. This country is in for a world of hurt. You want to talk about hell? Hell is a condition which America is going to very soon find out that it's going to go through a lot of, man. You know, and be honest with you, we're soaking it up. We laugh at this type of stuff. The Lord is laughing at this, man. This is a great time to be alive because we're witnessing the downfall of our enemy, man. Edom. The red Hebrew Edomite, man. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 25, verse 7. It says, there be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy. In the 10th I will utter with my tongue, a man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. And we're seeing the downfall of our enemy as we speak, man. Like I quoted 2nd Ezra 9 earlier, man. As all things have a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. And we're seeing the end unravel before our eyes, man. And I can't get enough. I'm pretty sure, other brethren around the world can say the same thing, man. We cannot get enough of watching the so-called white man, the red Hebrew Edomite, his society unravel and fall and crumble before his face, man. It's a great sight to see, So with that, I just wanted to highlight, the I just wanted to highlight the drug overdoses and the psychosis that people are running to in order to escape the reality of the society that is America. So with that, I want to give all praises, call Halalim, Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahushai Ba'ashim Kakwadash, double honor to the apostles and elders, great millstones who rule well, and salutations to the brethren on the four corners of the earth, pushing the word in truth and sincerity. Shalom.